Alright, we're back for Modern Marvel, Part 2. We came up with that name after the fact, hence the reason the first one was not referred to as Modern Marvel, Part 1. But anyway, so we are going to talk a little bit more about Captain America, but then also about really the entirety of this more expanded current Modern Marvel universe, including, of course, not just the movies, but the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. And I think, as you had alluded to in the last video, I really think that to fully comprehend the Captain America, fully appreciate it, you really should have watched the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show the whole time. And I'll be honest, if that show hadn't been out, I probably would not have seen Captain America Winter Soldier in theater. I probably would have waited for the Dollar House. I don't know about you.
No, I definitely wanted to go see it. It was actually a very busy weekend for me, but I made a very important point to go and actually see it on Friday so that I could then on Tuesday see the episode that tied in. And the show has actually done a really good job over the last couple episodes of showing just the scope of the breakdown of S.H.I.E.L.D. and just the extent of Hydra. To get a little spoily, I think that the show actually does a really good job of showing that we think S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of won, or that Captain America and Black Widow kind of defeated Hydra in the movie, but in the show, I would say Hydra is actually winning at this point.
Or at least on par.
Yes. And I'm actually interested to see how the show's going to take that, whether they'll actually eventually end up defeating Hydra in the show, or whether that actually leaks over into some of the other movies, because I think Hydra could become kind of the big bad villain behind a lot of the films, actually.
Well, and that goes along with, too, something that we had talked about before, and people have talked about this. The Marvel Universe is actually now expanding. Of course, obviously, we have these movies, and then we come together and we have the Avengers movies. And I actually like how you said the Avengers movies can actually be, on one level, these kind of climactic conclusions, final chapters to other story arcs, which gives you more time in those story arcs to develop character and to develop personal growth and personal action. I mean, obviously, as I said, Captain America had one of the best car chase scenes, not just in a Marvel movie, but in a movie that I had seen.
Yes.
It was really good. It was up there with, some of the noted car chase scenes like The Matrix 2 or The Blues Brothers. Which is the greatest car chase scene.
Yes, I would say that is the greatest car scene chase ever. But I think that the important thing is that what we've seen, like with Iron Man, Captain America, and then the Avengers, we've seen. I think Black Widow is actually the best example of this, where she's been in almost every franchise to this point, and how she's carried a consistent character across all of them, and how she's grown a lot in each one. And then I think in Captain America she really got a chance to shine. And to be frank, that's more, to lead into the point we're going to talk about, that's actually more characteristic of a TV show than movies. And a lot of times in trilogies, you have a problem where movie directors aren't that great at carrying over character development from different movies if they're not like a specific trilogy directed by one person. But I think with Marvel, you've had different directors, but because they're TV directors, for some of them, they're able to carry over characters like you would with a TV show that has different directors and writers for each episode.
Well, and to throw it out there, and I might be giving the man too much credit, but I don't think I am. I think Joss Whedon probably plays a role in the development of all of this universe going on. And the reason why I'm going to say that, even if it's not official, I don't know how many of the people out there watching this would know it, Whedon is no stranger to the comic book world. I've been carrying this book because I was going to hold it. This is actually volume 8 of The Runaways, which is a really great series. If you've never read comic books before, you might enjoy looking at this one. And he did a good job in this. He's the main contributor to this. Older than that, even predating a lot of stuff that he's more famous for now. He was Astonishing X author and did some of the best work in that series. As a matter of fact, you can see a motion comic of his work, Gifted, which is an X-Men, it's Astonishing X-Men. You can see the Gifted story arc. It's on Hulu and probably Netflix. I don't know about Netflix, but I know it's on Hulu. And if you're actually a fan of Joss Whedon, you really owe it to yourself to check that out. It's a stop motion comic, so it's not everybody's thing. I'm not even necessarily a huge fan of it, but it is a good demonstration of him in a comic world. And the thing that I was going to mention is, so he knows how comics work, because this is what, and I said this to you the other day, and I really think this is a critical thing that I've noticed. I think after Spider-Man 3, which is a movie series I've already talked about on my channel, and I didn't think Spider-Man 3 was that bad as some people did, but regardless, it wasn't popular overall. Not a whole lot of people necessarily cared for it. But I think what Marvel realized at that point is we need to stop making movies, and we need to do what we do. We make comics. And really, that is how this Marvel Universe has gone, with the 3 Iron Man movies, with the 2 Thor movies, with the Avengers movie. I mean, that's how comics work. And like you said, television, to bring it back, I think comics are more similar to television than they are to movies. Yes. And that's why you're seeing this. But a good example that I like to point to that I think you're going to see happen in this Marvel Universe, and why I think this is actually decent, a good thing, the Fox X-Men show back in the day, the animated one, which was a very good show, though, you know, part of that's looking at it with nostalgia. But actually, I went back and watched it. It's not bad at all.
It holds up. Yeah.
It does hold up. And the thing about that is you had a larger cast, and for a movie, that's too much. It's too much cast for a movie. But for a show like X-Men, which was very similar to how the comics worked, you know what? You're not a Cyclops fan. Guess what? Next week it's Wolverine. Next week after that it's Rogue and Gambit. And you know, there was always that. There was somebody who you liked, and it would always come back to that person. And I think, like for instance, in this, I'm not a huge Thor fan. Well, I'm not even really a huge Captain America fan, all truth be told. But I don't necessarily need to be a huge Thor fan to appreciate some of what it does for the universe. And really, it comes back to, I like Captain America, so I can watch the Captain America movie. I like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so it's going to come back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah. You know, and you can have that growth over a wider scope, that when it comes back together, I'm not going to be confused when Thor's in the Avengers. I know Thor's in the Avengers. You know,
I think the Avengers movie is actually a really good example of that, because we were able to bring in the character of Black Widow we already developed. We were able to bring in Thor, Captain America, these already Iron Man, these established characters, and then we were able to have some character growth with the Hulk and Bruce Banner, who we hadn't seen before. But if none of the other videos had been made, Bruce Banner would have been one of 5 people trying to get backstory, and he just got left in the shuffle, and that would have been a very awkward movie, because we would have had to be doing 5 stories at once. And so the ability to give Bruce Banner his own story, which kind of acts as a catalyst to the rest of the characters, which is very interesting. You're able to throw these established characters in, and you're able to see some things from them by interacting with this new character.
Right.
And what the Avengers is going to do is it's going to allow us to bring in these characters who maybe aren't as well known, who probably can't get their own franchise.
Like Falcon.
Like Falcon. And either bring them into the other movies, bring them into the Avengers, and I think that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, and I think, and this is where I understand why some people might not like this. I mean, if movies are your thing, and you like a traditional way in which movies progress, and you know, I'm saying, I know you like movies, and you like the way traditional movies, so I'm not saying that excludes you. What I'm saying is, like, if you're so hung up on that, then yeah, you might not like some of what's happening here. But if you're like me, and you've loved comics, and you've read comics, and that's how you approach stories, which I'll throw this out there, and this is, like, it's almost like this is taking what happened in Heroes, the show Heroes, which I didn't necessarily really care for.
The first season was okay.
The first season was okay. Because you had all those storylines, and like that was fine. I think they could have done that, but then they tried to mush them too much and not use the character development scheme like Marvel is using it right now. And frankly, this is why this, like the Justice League movie and stuff that's coming up, and I'm not saying this to just poo on DC Comics, because I actually don't dislike DC Comics as much as some people think that I do. I would tell you right now, the WB animated Batman show is probably the best animated show ever. Yeah. But when they're trying to. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to smush everything into these movies.
Yeah.
And like what? There's how many characters in the new Superman movie? There's Batman. There's Wonder Woman. There's
that's
this guy.
interesting. I mean, you said I like traditional movies, but I'm actually becoming less and less a fan of traditional movies. I think we've entered into.
Put you on your traditional hat.
I think we've entered into a golden age of television, and I think we're unfortunately going to be seeing the film industry, traditional films, being made more and more by people like Michael Bay, who can produce not very good movies, but they're going to produce a bunch of blockbuster successes because everyone wants to go see the new Transformer movie. I mean, we're at the Transformer, 5 or 6? Like, it's ridiculous. But they make money, so you keep making them. Whereas I feel like film needs to make some money, but they also need to get a consistent viewership and good ratings as well. And so I think there's a little more pressure on TV shows to actually be good and they can actually tell a story, I think.
Well, and I particularly think too, as you mentioned, I think we are on one level in a new golden age of television where, and I'm not necessarily a huge fan of this particular show, but like Lost, I think we've got more of this concept of even shows are condensing and movies are expanding. Shows now aren't necessarily supposed to run for 20, 15 seasons, however long. I mean, a lot of times if an exec can get that to happen, great. I'm sure it's happening. But, you were seeing more shows, I think, now that have dedicated storylines. This is supposed to go from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And you're going to have some filler episodes in there, but there's a set block that it's supposed to happen in. I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to also be that just because it's tied in with these movies. And I wonder, do you think that that's something that we'll see happen more in shows, or is television probably going to proceed like it is now?
No, I think we're going to see more because here's the thing. Here's what television is doing more and more. Television is getting back to the event TV because they're trying to get more and more people to watch live. So they've tied it in with social media, they've tied it in with your smartphones so that you get extra content while you're actually watching it live. So they're trying to tie the television back in more. And what they can do is they can do like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did, where they actually tied into the timeline into a movie. And so that way it really pays if you go see it Friday and then watch the show on Tuesday. And I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Captain America Winter Soldier proved that model very successful, and I think we're going to see more and more of that.
And the nice thing is that it's not just commercial success. Like, honestly, I think Marvel is building a better universe by doing this. I think that this is setting up greater character development, and it's setting up better storylines. And hey, when capitalism and art coincide, beautiful things happen. But I would also, I want to close with a brief comment. I think this next Avengers movie that's coming out, Age of Ultron, it's Joss Whedon. Somebody needs to die. No one's died yet. My money is on Tony Stark. Tony Stark is going to die in the next Avengers movie.
I would agree with you. I think that's very much the case because I mean it's Joss Whedon. No one's died yet, so he needs to fix that. I mean he tried to do it with Agent Coulson and that came back. Someone has to.
I mean, and that's the thing is, really, they are teasing death too much at this point. Somebody needs to die and not go to the other Marvel heaven. They go to the Uncle Ben Marvel heaven, where no one comes back from the Uncle Ben.
That's true.
All right, great. Thanks for checking us out, guys. And Daniel is more than willing to demonstrate katana moves later in a different video.